Senator Dianne Feinstein of California has been around for decades in office, now has a new aide by her side, somebody to help her get around. And it's raising some questions about her fitness to carry out the remainder of her term. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi's eldest daughter, Nancy Corrine Prada, has been a constant presence by the side of the 89-year-old senator since she returned to Washington after 10 weeks sick leave for complications from shingles. The New York Times yesterday reported the illness was much more frightening than initially revealed. Politico suggesting the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, may be propping up the senator for the benefit of Adam Schiff, who she personally has endorsed to take Feinstein's seat. Cozy. A Pelosi spokesperson says their friendship is personal, not political. Meanwhile, prominent California Democrats continue to vouch for Feinstein's ability to serve her constituents.
Don't get in the way of conversations between patients and their doctors. Senator Feinstein came back last week and she voted, and that was very good.
I don't have a medical degree, so I'm not going to comment on how she's feeling or what she looks like. I appreciate the fact that she is back working.
I think she can survive. In fact, I think she can run circles around half the people over there.
Steve Hilton, host of The Next Revolution. Well, they kind of have to say that because after letting John Fetterman come back and leave and come back and leave and come back and leave in Pennsylvania, it would look pretty sexist for them. Well, and we know which party it is. They have to be fair to the women, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And the same with Biden. I mean, you can see with Biden, he's not capable of properly doing his job. He's a senile, feeble figurehead as well. Look, before we talk about the politics of it, let's just remember the humanity here, which is that Dianne Feinstein is an absolutely legendary figure. She's a giant of California politics, played a huge role in turning around San Francisco when she took over as mayor after an incredibly turbulent time in the 1970s. It's absolutely sad and tragic and horrible to see the way that her reputation is being destroyed and degraded by these self-indulgent, selfish, and totally partisan Democrats. And this theory that Nancy Pelosi is trying to keep her there in order to stop Gavin Newsom appointing one of Adam Schiff's rivals, Barbara Lee, because Gavin Newsom has promised to replace, if it came to that, the senator with a black woman. Barbara Lee is the only black woman currently in the race. I believe that theory. Why? Because this is the kind of arrogance you get from people who have been in power without challenge or competition for so long that they believe that these public offices are theirs by right, that it's personal, and they think that it's something you can sort of hand down to the favored next generation as if it was a piece of furniture. That's what you get from these San Francisco Democrats and the California Democrats generally, because they feel that there's no political pressure. It's all theirs.
Real quickly, because you brought up personal, professional, all of that. Pelosi spokesperson again saying that their friendship is personal, not political. How is it that her daughter, who I would imagine also would say, well, I'm not her doctor, which is what a lot of the Democrats are saying to back away from this. I'm not her doctor, but she's with her all those hours every day helping her kind of tool around. And that's not political?
Of course it's political. With Pelosi, everything is political. That's the big selling point of Nancy Pelosi, that she's political to her fingertips. So no one should believe these protestations that there's no politics involved here. The theory makes total sense to me, and it's a complete, let's go back to the point. It is absolutely scandalous that by doing this, they are slowly and visibly destroying the reputation of whatever you think about her politics, one of the great figures of modern political life in America, Dianne Feinstein. It is awful to see them do it.
Well, this is interesting. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch calling government responses to the pandemic, and this is a quote, "the greatest intrusions on civil liberties in the peacetime history of this country," end quote. His comments coming in response to the Supreme Court's decision to dismiss a case pushed by red states to keep Title 42 in place. Justice Gorsuch went after an array of emergency power abuses, as he called them, from lockdowns to church closures. Justice Samuel Alito made similar remarks in the fall of 2020.
The pandemic has resulted in previously unimaginable restrictions on individual liberty. I think it is an indisputable statement of fact. We have never before seen restrictions as severe, extensive, and prolonged as those experienced for most of 2020.
Steve, what happened to Neil Gorsuch?
Well, look, I mean, yes, of course he's right. Of course Alito's right. It's all true. But what it reminds me of is the fact that even now, years afterwards, we have not seen any kind of real accountability for the people who pushed the lockdowns. Any kind of legal accountability, no political accountability. They've just totally gotten away with it. Let's remember that this wasn't some kind of innocent mistake the lockdown people pushed, that, well, we didn't really know what was happening and so we were being overcautious. That is not true. They knew, we knew from the beginning, the special characteristics of this virus. First of all, that it was transmitted through aerosols that traveled through the air. Therefore, the justification for social distancing, which was the basis for the lockdowns, which said, well, you can't really operate a shop or a business because you've got to keep 6 feet social distancing. That was all BS, because the social distancing thing was based on droplets that fall 6 feet from you. We knew that at the beginning.
Right.
We knew that most people who got the virus would have mild or zero symptoms, that it particularly skewed in its effects towards the elderly and those who are overweight. We knew all this at the beginning. It's not being wise after the event, but these people pushed the lockdowns anyway. You saw the destruction of businesses, of children's futures with the school closures. And then don't forget this. All this conversation we're having now about the debt ceiling and all the rest of it, that's in large part due to the lockdowns, because of all the huge amounts of money that we were shoveling out the door to compensate people for lockdowns that should never have happened. When are these people going to be held accountable? All the governors. Look at
when they said they didn't want to come back to work yet.
Mike Pence was heading the coronavirus task force, letting it all just drift on. Completely outrageous.
I guess,
These
I
people
look
need to be held accountable. When are we going to sue them? When are we going to see legal action against these people? Damages recovered for all the losses that people experienced. Never mind Gorsuch saying it was a civil liberties infringement, which of course it was. When are we going to see actual accountability for this absolute catastrophe that hurt so many people and is continuing to hurt our country for decades to come through the debt that was built up totally unnecessarily?
Well, and I hear all of that, and the reason I say, what about Gorsuch now, who appointed by Donald Trump? I ask that question because if it were not for his voice reminding, apparently, the court, reminding the country that we have been down this road now for 3+ years, we know what broke us. We know what broke us, and we're willing to go along again with this charade of Title 42 didn't really help us. Yes, it did. It just didn't come from the president that Biden and other Democrats really like. It came from Donald Trump.
Yes, but honestly, I mean, honestly, we should be controlling the border and having a properly run immigration system in its own right. We shouldn't be relying on some pandemic thing to control the border. We should have a proper government that understands that one of its prime responsibilities is to protect our border properly. Not relying on some pandemic-era title that was a temporary public health emergency. That's ridiculous.
But look what it took to just get Biden to the table to even begin to negotiate for the debt ceiling that's just days away, as early potentially as June 1st. Look what kind of pressure it took from inside his own party to get him to do that. It's no shocker. The Democrats aren't going to come to the table if Republicans put something down, although you don't know. Kevin McCarthy could next level put something down to solve what's going on at the border. They've already started to do that. They're tackling some of it. But do Democrats come? I don't know. Steve Hilton, always great to have you in focus. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harris.